This goes out to xmarvelmanx and billyrayjoebob at gamespot.com. These two users are assholes. Why are they assholes? Because, well, they don't understand us, therefore they fear us. And because they fear us, they therefore hate us. It's an inherent human trait, and it's an annoying one. And these two are especially afraid of us. Because I don't know how much they tried to argue with me on our existence. They wouldn't accept it. Not only that, they wouldn't read. And they're fools. I forget which one of them was arguing about the difference between Pythagorean theorem and Fermat's last theorem. They're not the same. Pythagorean theorem says a squared plus b squared equals c squared, which is true. And Fermat's last theorem says a cubed plus b cubed does not equal c cubed. Now, he couldn't prove it, though he claimed to, but he couldn't prove it. Now, it was eventually proved 200-300 years later, amazing enough by an American, actually, I believe it was, and it took 110 pages to write the proof. And he failed the first time and had to go back and fix it. And I understand it also involves something in mathematics known as supersymmetry. Now, I don't know all the details how he proved it, but that's the side point. Someone actually believed that they were the same damn thing, and accused me of being an idiot for using that as an example. But they don't seem to realize it's not the same. Other problems they have is they keep assuming I'm saying stuff I'm not, or they just don't read clearly or something, I don't know. I mean, trying to say I said 10 billion friggin' falls from their sky? No, that didn't happen. There was no big battle above your sky. There never was, and there never will be, as far as I know. You know, it was absurd to suggest that I said that. I never did. I said we lost 10 billion. But no, they wouldn't listen to that. They had to make up some BS argument that didn't make any logical sense. You know, I don't even know how they think they're right when they don't read what I say. They also say I didn't say things when I had told them already. They ask for scientific details I can't possibly know. First off, I know for a fact that any storage form has a finite capacity. It cannot store infinite information. Not at least in the sense of physical things in the world. Physics, that's another matter. I don't know all the details. I'm not going to try and argue that one. But as for, say, a CD or DNA, each amount of physical space only stores a precisely finite amount of maximum data. They wouldn't accept this. I don't know why. Probably because they're idiots. Nonetheless, they assume that we have to know all this advanced knowledge. That you have any idea how much understanding of the basics before this level of knowledge you can understand? It's like math. You can't do algebra if you don't know arithmetic first. Or the alphabet for that matter, but that's another point. So, they assume that I can understand exactly how to store information in DNA, or understand exactly the biological process by which DNA is extracted and then incorporated into an embryo so that it may emulate another organism. I can't tell you. I don't even know how the hell a cell works, ultimately. You know, you might claim to know, but it's not that simple, believe me. You always need the building blocks first. You can't start anything without the building blocks. They assume I would have to know. They also assume that the government that fell before, it had to, for some reason, decide that we needed this scientific knowledge. But, again, you need the building blocks to understand. That's a lot of space. Now, what's more important? One's technology or one's history and culture? Because I talked to someone, and then she said, plain and simple, her teachers in anthropology have always said, if you have no adherence to the cultural practices or any knowledge of it, at least, the very least, no knowledge of it, you're not going to practice it. It just doesn't happen. So, of course, you have to share that. Now, which is more important? Is culture and history, so you know who you are, the way you're supposed to behave, or technology that's essentially useless without a culture? You know what I mean? What good is technology with no people to use it? Right? And still the whole building blocks argument comes in again. They assume everything should be known. Everything. And there is just so much space. They also argue with me that I wouldn't give them information that I didn't have. They assume I should know the exact words, hell, even the gist of the conversation or discussion, I should say, of the federal council regarding this whole project. And I can't tell you for sure why they chose not to enter that. My guess is, again, space and issues like that. But I don't know. They don't give me every single detail because they can't. If I claim to know every detail, wouldn't someone find it a little suspicious that I know every bloody detail? That doesn't happen. You can't convey every single detail. So why should I know every detail? Then, of course, they argue other absurd points that, because I don't happen to hear their perfectly, precisely defined idea of what English is supposed to look like, I must be an idiot. Others have complained that I am on at unusual times of day, thinking I've got no life or that I sit in front of a computer all day. No. You see, I have other shit to do. I don't just sit on my ass in front of a computer all day. I'll grant, I spend some time in front of a computer, but I also have to eat, take care of my place, work for my food and bills, you know? And I also spend time with some other individuals because sitting on my ass all day, I will go loopy. I just couldn't spend that much time around here. I often like to get out of the place. In fact, I probably spend less time here, let alone in front of a computer, than I do pretty much anything else. These days, I'm working 40-day weeks, 40-hour weeks. And so, I am not sitting in front of a computer that much. I have to get to work, get back from work, I have to work, I get my breaks in there. So no, I'm not sitting in front of a computer much. But they seem to want to think that as an excuse to say, I must be making this up. But you know, that's just not true. And again, it comes down to the fact we just scare the living shit out of them, and they don't want to accept what frightens them. You know, Americans, not only Americans, but Americans are especially bad for this, that if it flies in the face of what they believe, let's use that word for it, they get mad and pissy and bitch at you about it. Even though there's no validity in that. None whatsoever. You know? And they have this problem. Now, there are other groups that are bad for this. Islam is a good example. Islam gets really, really pissy about anyone, you know, doing stupid things like, saying Allah doesn't exist or something like that. They get pissy about that. Even though there is no proof that their God exists. And it's ridiculous when they get pissy about it. Now, I don't have a problem with them hating Americans. I think the two should kill each other off, because they both piss me off. So that's detracting from the whole argument in the first place. I'm still annoyed that they expect more from reality than reality has to offer. And I don't even know how the hell they think their arguments are logical. Really. If you would ever look at that discussion, you would see repeatedly they ask questions that I don't think there's anyone in the universe who could answer some of those questions. You know? I think it's partly because science fiction has clouded their judgment in thinking that every detail should be worked out. Every detail. That there can't be a single detail you don't know. If you made this up, you have to know everything. But, you know, it's not made up for one. And secondly, even those who make up stories tend to leave out some details here and there. And so, knowing every detail, regardless of what level of understanding one might need, doesn't mean it'll actually be there. It just doesn't work that way. I don't think I've ever seen any documentation of anything that had every detail, like his pen was here, his paperclip was there, or something more important of the exact wording of what he said. You know, not everything is recorded, and secondly, not just every detail gets into the history books. I mean, if you look at world leaders in the last 100 years of this planet, you don't get every single thing they said in the history book. Nowhere near. Mostly what you get is major speeches and crap like that. You don't have every word they said. In fact, I don't think you can look at a single history book and it tell you every bloody remark made in the Canadian Parliament. Now, I know it's recorded, and there's records, but you don't find it in the history books. Why? One, it's too much to put in the history books, and secondly, a lot of it is really unimportant, let's put it that way. There's a lot of politicians, regardless of what country, tend to argue more than actually get anything done. So again, it's not worth the waste of information. So I'm just going to end off here by saying Billy Joe Ray Bob and xmarvelmanx are idiots. And, and bigots. They're me being bigots. They're more of a bigot than I am. Because I've just given up on trying to convince them. Now if they find this, fine with me. And if they bitch at it, I don't really give a shit. Because I'm going to only allow comments in here that I approve. Because otherwise, I'm going to have people bitching at me over and over again. And I don't feel like arguing with them.